Hello, welcome everyone. This is the first session that we have at the at the Zoom studio, Buenos Aires, in English. That is the keynote of YCIG. First, we have Meri and myself who will be speaking today. Thank you very much for waiting for us a few seconds. And now I'm going to start sharing my screen. Okay, perfect. Meri, you can begin.
Hello, everyone. I think it's good morning for most of us. Welcome and thank you very much for joining our keynote, where we will try to make a quick recap of what the Youth Coalition on Internet Governance does. Actually, we will try to understand what is this coalition, what we do, and what is upcoming, and ways for you to get involved with YCIG. So today, can we go to the next slide?
First of all, just a quick reminder that we have a code of conduct. And basically, as I mentioned before, at the opening ceremony, we are trying to avoid any harassment behavior. So if you see that there is an issue or something, please send us an email. You have the email on the bottom of the slide. And now I'm going to continue with the session.
So we'll start with a short introduction, then we will present what we do, then we'll have time for some discussions, and if you have any questions, just feel free to ask them at any point. We are happy to hear from you. So a few words about myself. So I'm Meri, I'm a human rights attorney from Armenia. At the moment, I am in the United States. I'm studying at the University of Pennsylvania Law School. I'm an LLM candidate. I'm involved with the Internet governance ecosystem since 2016. I'm a member of the European and Southeastern European IGF communities. And this year I am a YCIG steering committee member for Eastern European group, as you already can imagine. And my colleague Eileen, I pass the floor to you.
Thank you very much. I'm Eileen Cejas. I'm from Argentina. I have a background in criminal law, and also I'm interested in gender issues, digital literacy, feminist internet, and IT law. Currently, I'm the steering committee member representing the GRULAC region for the YCIG, and the Regional Engagement Director for Latin America and the Caribbean for the Youth SIG, also known as Youth Observatory. Also, you can find me in other parts, also part of the organizing committee of the YouthLACIGF, part of the program committee of the Youth IGF Argentina. I hope that you can join us tomorrow. There's going to be a session organized by YCIG with invited guests from local Youth IGF initiatives in Latin America. But that's all from my side. I'm going to pass the floor to Meri.
Thank you, Eileen. So to start our presentation, we thought that it would be nice to first ask you what you have heard about YCIG. So we have this pop quiz, and the first question is, YCIG is, and Eileen will have the poll up so you can vote. I will give you 20 seconds. Just choose the option that you think is the correct one. And the options are: YCIG is a dynamic coalition, it's a youth organization, a youth movement, or a youth initiative. Okay, so we can see the results. So 2 of you think that it's a youth organization, and 1 of you thinks it's a dynamic coalition. And the correct answer is that YCIG, the Youth Coalition on Internet Governance, is a dynamic coalition. 2 words about dynamic coalitions. So at the IGF, there are several ways of intersectional work that people can get involved throughout the year before the annual Internet Governance Forum. And one of those is a dynamic coalition. These are informal groups that are recognized by the IGF Secretariat. And these groups usually come together to work on issues, particular issues related to Internet governance. In our case, in case of YCIG, this dynamic coalition was formed to advocate for the voice of youth, and we work towards the enhancement of enhancement of youth participation in the ecosystem, capacity development, and also this year we started doing mentorship programs. We can go to the next question, I think, Eileen. So what do you think? How old is the YCIG? The options are 3, 5, 7, or 10 years old. And the correct answer is, Eileen, if we can go to the next slide. The correct answer is that this year we're going to celebrate the 10th anniversary of YCIG. So as a teaser here, I would also like to invite you to our session at the IGF. And I hope you will join, and we will have interesting discussions on enhancing the role of youth in the ecosystem. And the last question is, how many regions are represented in the YCIG? So we have 3, 4, 5, or 6 regions. And you see the right answers on your screen. YCIG representatives come from 5 regions. It's Latin America and Caribbean, Eastern Europe, Africa and Middle East, Asia Pacific, and Western Europe and other groups. So the steering committee members usually also come from all regional groups, and thereby we try to maintain the regional balance and representation of the voices of all youth from all the regional groups. Next, I will pass the floor to my colleague Eileen, who will speak about what we actually do at YCIG and what we have done so far this year. Eileen.
Thank you very much, Meri. So what we do at the YCIG, well, as Meri mentioned, we are a dynamic coalition that is officially recognized under the intersectional work of the IGF. As you know, the IGF has on one side the BPFs, the best practice forums, and on the other side has the dynamic coalitions. That currently we have 18 dynamic coalitions, which is a really good number to see that we have a lot of topics to discuss about in internet governance. And our purpose is to advocate for the voice of children, young people, and young professionals in internet governance. And as Meri mentioned, we are turning 10 years this year. And since 2010 is a natural space for youth interested in IT-related issues, and at the IGF is the platform for engaging with all stakeholders on equally footing to amplify youth voices. And what we are doing now during 2020, a very challenging year for all of us. First of all, we started a questionnaire to see what were the topics that our community was more interested about. Then we have updated the YCIG Charter, which is like the constitution of the dynamic coalitions. Then we also have added a code of conduct. And well, we have to mention we have been working closely with the Youth SIG on shaping some working groups to submit sessions for the IGF 2020, and we are happy to say we have accepted 3 sessions for the IGF 2020 in the tracks inclusion, data, and environment. Also, we are part of a youth engagement strategy at the IGF 2020. You probably saw that last year it was shared that there is a call for inputs from the young community to see which are the topics that young people are interested to be discussed at the IGF 2020. So please go check the survey that I believe Meri is going to share later on the chat. Also, I have to say that we are part of a collaboration with the Internet Society's IGF Youth Ambassadors Program 2020. When we are creating a mentorship system for the mentees, which are going to be the IGF Youth Ambassadors Program selected for this year, and we are really looking forward to be helping to have a really strong basis for the newcomers of young people in intergovernance. And also, as another things that we have done this year, we have participated at the IGF Plus survey, which was a survey where was discussed one of the models of digital cooperation that will be applied for the internet ecosystem. One of them is the IGF Plus. We have also participated at the Global Stakeholders Dialogue organized by Missions Publiques. We held a day zero session at EuroDIC, and we were part of the open course of the YouthLACIGF. And now we have the liberation time. So we are going to split into 2 rooms. I hope you can join us. Let me a second so I can share you in the different rooms. Well, I think we can discuss now here, since we are few people. I think it will be more interesting. Not sure how you see it, Meri. But well, one of the questions that we have is, how do you see the IGF globally? The first question that we have for you guys is, what changes do you see that has happened between 2005 and 2020 when the YCIGs, at the YCIGs, when the UN Secretary pointed out that there was a necessity of an internet governance forum globally. So now we are hearing you. You can also type on the chat.
Maybe we can go to the next slide so that we have the question.
Okay. So also other part of the discussion was, how do you envision ID in your region? Do you think it is enough, the number of IGF initiatives in the region, and how do you see the participation levels of internet users in IGF forums? I think we have a comment. Oh, what do you? Okay. So I'm not sure. We can start to see. It could be, you can say that if you don't know, it's okay. It's just to see what are your opinions.
Can I talk?
Yes.
Okay, great. A minute, please. Okay. You hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. As of now, as I can see, it is a great idea. And I remember when I just received the link first, so that was very interesting, especially nowadays because in these circumstances, especially due to the pandemic of COVID-19, so most of the people need to know about the internet more and more from before, because most of the time, most of the thing is just trying to do over the internet, and as you can meet through Zoom right now, so that really good thing and interesting. However, this opportunity or this purpose is very interesting and can help others from before 2005 until now 2020. So it is something very interesting, and there's a great changes around this month. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much for your input. I'm not sure, Meri, if you want to add something. And
I
also
wanted to.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No. If also the others want to say something, please go ahead.
Hi, I could say something.
Yes.
Of course.
I don't know specifically in the region, but well, I'm from Brazil, and I think that since the inception of YCIG, there has been more pathways for the participation of youth and the civil society in internet governance forums. I don't think we see that as largely distributed in terms of regionality or regions, but I do believe that this was important, especially regarding some legislative actions that we had, especially in Brazil with Marco Civil da Internet, which is kind of a internet constitution that they tried to establish in 2014 here in Brazil. So although we did, through the legislative process, establish open forums for debate, I think that the organization of the civil society prior to these debates through organizations like YCIG was detrimental for changes in the bill. That's it.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy that you mentioned about the Marco do Civil, because I think it's a good background note to, sorry, I cannot think it in English, to say, okay, we have a way to say, okay, there are civil rights in internet, but we should continue working from there.
Exactly. I completely agree with you, because even, especially when we're dealing with civil rights and human rights, they do have a political aspect always. So it doesn't matter if we just write laws or write put them in codes and codification, if we don't have the participation of a larger group in civil society. So this was really important for this specific legislation.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. Meri,
Jumping.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not from LAC region, as I said in the beginning, but my observation for the last 4 years that I'm involved in internet governance is that for civil society, and I'm also part of civil society, in the beginning, we didn't understand that we had anything to do here, because, well, digital rights were not something that was considered to be a multi-stakeholder process, part of the process, and it was considered to be maybe something for the government or maybe for the private sector. But when our whole life became more or less online, it was obvious that things need to be done in this domain as well. And also another thing is that this field, in a way, developed too fast, maybe, like too quickly, and it was hard to catch up sometimes. And as a lawyer, I can say that the legal system does its best to catch up, but so far in a lot of cases we really do not see it, or these laws are very restrictive. And as I know, right now in Brazil there are several bills that are also connected with the internet and online interactions, such as the one on fake news. So I think the role of civil society, and especially youth in civil society, I mean youth in general, but particularly in civil society, is invaluable. And we, as we know, we are the ones that use these technologies since like childhood. We do not imagine the life without it, I mean most of us. And this means that we need to make them accountable and also sustainable. So this was what I wanted to add.
Thank you very much, Meri. I think we can continue with the questions for you guys.
No, let's stand up.
Okay, yeah, please.
No, you can. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Meri and Eileen, for your great presentation. I'm Noah, and I'm the African representative of the YCIG. I wanted to add my 2 cents. I think that the IGF is the huge benefit from the IGF is networking with the other stakeholders with similar minds or with different minds as well. My first IGF was in 2017, so I'm not sure about the previous versions, but I think that we need to take the discussions from the IGF into the next step. So that's why the IGF needs the reshaping or the new planning ongoing right now. So I'm looking forward to see how the IGF Plus will be, and how youth and marginalized groups will be represented in it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Noah. Yeah, indeed, it's a problematic that we see, that there is a lot of marginalized communities that they are trying, we are trying to include into the discussion, but it should be a collective effort from everyone, not just a few of us. There is another input. Okay, so I'm going to continue with the questions. Other thing that you see, but not sure if all of us can say is how do you see the model of the YCIG 2020, sorry, the YCIG 2.0 process? Because none of us are updated with this, but the idea is that the YCIG, as we know now, it should be more open and include other sector, other stakeholders as young people. So from those who are from the LAC region, maybe you can give more inputs in this part.
Eileen, will you please give us an overview what was happening in the YCIG before and now?
Okay. Well, what I can say from now, the thing that has happened is that, so you see there were a few stakeholders represented at the composition of the YCIG. But since last year, there has started the process to update it, the YCIG to be a 2.0 version. So it can include more stakeholders into the discussion, because generally is more focused on civil society, private sector. And for example, you see that it's hard to have a link with the governments to be interested in the discussion, and also with the academia, because you see that not all universities are part of the YCIG process, because we should understand all the IGF, not only the global, but also the regional as a process. It's not just an event. So the idea was also to see, okay, what we can achieve from the YCIG is just we sit a couple of days and discuss about internal governance matters in our region, or we are going to start creating recommendations for the governments to be implemented, or something of the sort. Because it really matters to see if it's only just a meeting, or you are actually implementing something to your internal government, and also to the national and youth IGFs initiatives in your region. I'm not sure, Meri or Noah, I'm not sure how is the experience in the regional IGFs in your region, if you see that there has been a similar process or not.
I can go first. So for EuroDIC, that is the Pan-European IGF, if we can call it like that. There, mostly I can say that more or less all the stakeholders are presented. Of course, there I can say that it's maybe again mostly civil society, but I cannot say that there is any stakeholder that is missing, or there is an overabundance of just one stakeholder. But I joined EuroDIC last year, so I cannot say what was the situation there before that. But for 2019 and 2020, I can say that it is pretty much balanced representation there. For Southeastern European Dialogue on Internet Governance, also known as YCIG, there I can say that maybe so far we lack the technical community there and a bit of private sector, but there is enough representation from like international organizations, governments, civil society, of course, and academia. But I think private sector is a little bit lagging behind, but it is not a very big problem at the moment. For me, maybe more technical community, a little bit more will be more useful, because in this process, I do not foresee us going forward without the collaboration between all the stakeholders. And so far, it's more or less balanced, and I cannot say that there is any process of updating, these dialogues. But for the global IGF, that's a different story, but we will get to that in a bit. So I pass the floor to Noah.
Thanks, Meri and Eileen. So for the African IGF, it's organized by the African Union. So you can see representation from governments and governmental institutions. So that's a great thing. And I believe that there is a good representation from most stakeholders, except the private sector, I may say. And last year, the first Youth African IGF was organized. But the thing is with the African IGF that I get the impression that everything is prepared at last minute. For example, this year we still don't know if the African IGF will be hosted by the African Union, or will never have an African IGF this year. Regarding the Arab IGF, it's organized by the Arab League as well. So yes, we can see representation from governments, but very poor representation from the other stakeholders like civil society, poor representation. Youth, we don't have a Youth Arab IGF so far. And it's not like there's no well marketing for the Arab IGF. So last year we very few audience was there. It was before the lockdown. But very few people attended it. So that's it from my side.
Thank you very much, Noah. Yes, I have the feeling that we have a complicated situation because in some regions you have more representation of a certain stakeholder, and in our it's not the same thing. But there is something that we can see it as it can push us to work more on that from our side as young people, to see, okay, if we have to have a youth meeting, Youth IGF regional and also at national level, we have to see how to include all the stakeholders and to guarantee an equal voice for everyone. I'm going to move to the next slide, which is basically what we have been talking about recently, about youth participation in IGF. If you see that it's meaningful, because we can think about this question of how do you see that is youth participation in the IGF space? If you think that your opinion is valued, youth adults events. I mean, youth adults, only adults more than 30 years. And what changes do you suggest to do, no? And finally, my last question is, how do you think it's easy to start and maintain during a long time youth initiatives? And which supports do you need as young people to gain more visibility? So now the floor is for you. Meri, maybe you can speak about the experience at Youth SIG.
Yes, I was going to share that, and also 2 words about our session at Eurodic, the pre-event, because we also discussed these questions more focused on the Europe. So I think it will be interesting to compare the experiences, as we will hear from participants from LAC region. And Noah, please jump in with your regional experience as well. So for Europe, for the 2 IGF communities that there are in Europe, we have 2 different programs. Let's call it like that. They are not youth IGF per se, but there is Youth SIG, which is the youth pre-event for the Eurodic, the European Dialogue on Internet Governance, and it usually happens. So it starts with a series of webinars, and then you meet a few days before the conference, and it's like a pre-event. So this year, of course, everything was online, so we conducted a series of webinars. This is very well supported by the Eurodic Secretariat, and they provide as much support as possible. So I'm really thankful for this kind of support and understanding of the importance for youth to be involved. And this process culminates in youth messages. So the participants decide their main priority topics and come up with statements and let's not call them demands, but messages directed towards different stakeholder groups that are later shared at a special session during Eurodic, and also during different sessions. And usually there is some kind of advocacy strategy involved with dissemination of these messages. For CIDIC, there is a youth school, which is also again online this year, and CIDIC will happen later in September. On the week of 21st of September, and usually youth school participants are very much involved with all the sessions, which is, I forgot to mention, that is also the case with Eurodic. So these are not, if you think about it, maybe youth IGFs in the classical sense, but I think these are interesting initiatives that the local IGF initiatives try to empower and support, and they organize it every year. I don't remember for how many years, but for at least I think 4 or 5 years for sure. And I also wanted to share with you what some parts of the discussion that we had during our YCIG pre-event at Eurodic. So there we had representatives from different youth IGF initiatives from Europe, namely from Portugal and Italy. And Joa and Veronica actually were exchanging views on how they organized it, what were the challenges, what were the advantages and disadvantages. So it was very interesting to hear similar challenges and also some differences. One thing that is, of course, obvious is the problem with funding, which I think this year is a little bit not a big issue, because you don't need a venue, you don't need a lot of things. Maybe you just need a Zoom license to organize a webinar in terms of expenses, but finances usually is a big problem. And maybe first or second challenge is the problem of being taken seriously. This is an issue, I guess, everywhere, because even in, you know, these very well-developed countries that we have in our mind, whichever this country will be for each of us, even there, if you are under 35, you are still young, you don't have experience, you don't have any, you know, worldview enough so that, you know, that it's sufficient for you to organize something meaningful and be taken seriously. And one thing that I found very interesting during our session and also during the preparations, I'm sorry that I'm taking so much time, but I think this is interesting to share, it was that working with universities is a very interesting avenue to think about. I think this is done in the LAC region, as I understand, but for Europe, it is still not so widespread, and I think there is quite some, you know, arena to work there. And the universities in Italy were actually very interested to work with youth. So as this year, Eurodic was, for instance, online, virtual, and next year it's going to be in Italy, hopefully. Then we will see whether this 1 year collaboration or potential, you know, conversations really resulted in anything. But I think it was interesting to, you know, understand some avenues for new collaborations. And last thing, and I promise I will not take any of my space, is I would like to share the example from the Armenian Youth IGF, which is going to be organized, I think, for the second time this year. And it is supported by the Internet Society Armenia and previous alumni, previous participants from the Armenian School on Internet Governance. So I think this is also a good strategy for later like uniting and organizing your youth initiative, and like from the national go to regional and then to global, and, you know, have really meaningful youth participation, because I personally do not foresee any meaningful participation unless the youth know what they are doing. And it's not only about being in the room, in other words, it is about being there, of course, but making meaningful contributions. I think it is also very important for being taken seriously. This is all on my end, and sorry for speaking for long.
No, it's okay. Thank you very much, Meri. Let me see. Maybe we can share a little bit our social media, so you can check. So we have a website, a mailing list, which is the main channel of communication that we use. We have the Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and now we are going to try to chat with you, not just on the slides. It could be on the Youth Coalition, of course, and if you have any questions about the upcoming YCIG 2020, which, you know, is going to be a bit crazy, 3 weeks long. So we are here to help you.
I just wanted to add to that, you know, it is a bit confusing for people to know that YCIG is not an organization, it's not an initiative, it's not a movement, it is a dynamic coalition. So the concept of this is a bit strange and weird for a lot of people that are not really involved with the intersectional work at the IGF. But I think that joining YCIG is a very interesting experience because it is completely different from being part of a youth organization. In this case, you represent your whole community from your original group. Of course, together with your colleagues, you have direct access to many things that a lot of youth organizations do not have access in a way. And I will explain this. So for instance, there are a lot of activities that happen in between two IGFs. And as the IGF is not so much bottom-up process, it is very much a top-down process. You do not have much say in all of this, but being a dynamic coalition recognized by the IGF Secretariat, you have more, maybe that's not the right word, more credibility to work directly with the Secretariat and come up with more ideas to do something. So I would encourage everyone to check our social media and consider joining our mailing list. Also the group on Facebook, because we post very interesting opportunities there. And why not, after some time, maybe also consider running for the steering committee member position, because from my experience, this was completely different than being member of a youth organization, because you are in different shoes, and it is a completely different view on things, because you work closely with other dynamic coalitions, PPFs, as Eileen mentioned. So and then you also work with your community, which includes working with other youth initiatives and organizations. But in a way, it's a bit different, but very interesting experience to be part of a dynamic coalition. And as this one works for raising the voice of youth and on our capacity development and youth empowerment, I would encourage you to think about it and join us, because this is why we are here, and this is, in a way, paid forward type of organization. So thank you very much for listening to us, and I'm sorry if I was talking too much, and I will give the floor to Eileen or Noah if you want to add something. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Meri. Maybe Noah, so you can share a bit more.
Yeah, thank you, Meri and Eileen, for the great presentation about the YCIG. I wanted to share about.
Being part of the Youth Coalition, it has been a brand new experience, as Meri was saying, because we have to really dig into very IGF matters that are maybe very technical, but it has been a very interesting experience, because you are in direct contact with the IGF secretariat, so you have to see, okay, we have to work on a DC session for the IGF, to attend the meetings, and to be discussing with internet policymakers on how to approach different issues. So it has been very, very interesting, and also very challenging, I should say, to adapt to the new change, because it's not the same be at the shoes of an organization than to be at the shoes of the Youth Coalition. But we are happy to be part of this, to have a very good community that has been very supportive, especially taking into. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
No. I was just about to say that, especially that we are 10 years old, is a very long time in terms of internet.
What I liked in our journey, that we're collaborating with other youth organizations as well, and I like that we're creating, we're having new allies. We don't want youth organizations to compete. Instead, they can collaborate and offer better opportunities to their communities. So I guess that we took a new path this year of creating a youth umbrella for all youth organizations and networks. So I'm proud of that as well.
Yeah, so basically, to build on what Noah said, we didn't want to have the duplication of efforts, but we thought that as this is not classical organization, we can serve as a forum for all the youth involved in internet governance, whether as individuals or as initiatives or organizations. And as we kind of stand close to the secretariat and all the processes that are not open for everyone to participate, we made it our mission in a way to collaborate with new organizations and serve as this umbrella. And I'm very happy that all of this became a reality, and I hope YCIG will continue this tradition, because I think it's better to unite forces than to, you know, work separately and in a way also duplicate the efforts.
Thank you very much, Meri. I think we can make the closure now, taking into account that there should be starting another session soon. So if you want to say some final words from the audience, please go ahead, or otherwise we make the closure now.
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you for your time and all of the information that you shared with us. And we cannot wait for the next session also. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ricardo. And thank you everyone for joining us today. And see you around.
Eileen, will you please share the link for tomorrow's session?
Yes, I'm.
The details.
Yes,
in the chat.
yes, we are going to share another email later. So please stay tuned.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
everyone.
See you around.